My mother, there on your left, I think, was violently, brutally murdered on the side of the road, was shot to death by her new husband when I was a baby. She shielded me, which saved my life. My grandmother ran around the car trying to stop the killer and was shot 4 times before she fell to the ground. She miraculously survived. My 11-year-old aunt had an empty gun clicked in her face before the killer finally got in his car, drove off. She was still strong enough to get out, flag down an oncoming car, and then get back in the car and pull me out from underneath her dying sister. This was my heroic legacy. Growing up, I knew this story, and I was not brave or courageous. I was bullied terribly in school. I never defended myself or anyone else. And I thought, did this heroic gene somehow skip a generation? How could this happen? Many years later, after I got married and had kids and moved to Europe, I met this amazing group of heroic educators. I contacted Matt. I received training with Dr. Zimbardo and the Heroic Imagination Project from Matt himself. Matt invited me to join this awesome community and generously shared his program with me. To give you a quick recap of what heroic education is, it's a combination of bystander behavior training. Teach you what a bystander is, why that's not a good thing, and what you can do to prevent it. The next thing, mindfulness education, teaching you how to stay focused and calm, how to calm yourself with breathing, how to learning to have a positive attitude. First aid training, so you know what to do in medical emergencies when something's really wrong. And self-defense training, which gives you confidence and how to deal with conflict situations. So why heroic education? Well, if you've seen nothing else today, you've learned the importance of teaching our children that kindness and courage are as important as academic and financial achievements. Teaching you coping skills and how to get through life are just as important as teaching you to be successful. With that goal in mind, I took Matt's American program and translated it into German and founded a nonprofit, and together with my partner Viola, we were giving workshops in schools, and we were able to reach 300 students in and around the Bonn area and their teachers through projects and workshops. It was a fun time. In 2016, Matt invited me to talk at the Hero Roundtable in Nijmegen, and what followed after that was kind of a series of talks. I had a TEDx in Groningen in the Netherlands, a keynote address in The Hague, and then the Hero Roundtable in London. I mean, I was cool, right? I was traveling around Europe giving talks about heroism and teaching heroism in schools, so really great. In 2017, that's my family, in 2017, my husband found out that we were being transferred from Bonn to Berlin, and I was looking forward to starting the Hero construction company in Berlin. Now, I'd love to tell you that I decided to shave my head and follow Matt around like he was some kind of guru, but as you may have guessed by now, this story takes a tragic turn for the worse. I had been having back pain from sort of the beginning of the year and didn't know what was going on. Went to a lot of doctors. No one could figure out what was going on. And when we moved to Berlin, like a month after we moved to Berlin, I found out that I had stage 3 pancreatic cancer, which is just a bear of a disease. 2 weeks after that, we found out that Torsten had thyroid cancer. So I was like, I know, right? Were we living on top of a toxic waste dump? I don't know. So what followed was a major operation for me, a 3-week hospital stay, then followed by Torsten's surgery and treatment. And we didn't know what was going to happen. It was crazy. I'm happy to report that Torsten is completely cured. Thyroid cancer is a very curable cancer. My cancer likes to go away and it likes to come back, so I am currently in treatment at the moment. I want to talk to you today, not just to share my sad story, but to tell you how heroic education has made a difference in our lives and has helped us get through these terrible times, through the roller coaster ride that is remission and recurrence and hope and devastation. So, heroic training starts with a good attitude. How do I deal with what life hands me? Now, this is very often a choice. And I want to show you what set the tone for us going forward. When I got home from the hospital, this was up against the wall along with the Welcome Home Mom sign. And if you can't make that out, that is a very dead crab representing cancer with a sword stuck in its gut. And I realized at that moment, it became crystal clear to me that we were going to fight this, obviously with strength, but also with humor. Now, I chose not to wear a wig. I did try a lot of them on, which was really fun. They were uncomfortable. I thought they were hot and not nice. And I felt like, there's so many people going through cancer, and I just didn't feel like it needed to be a secret that I was battling cancer. So we had a big hair cutting off party in the bathroom. I got to try all kinds of fun hairstyles that I'd always wanted to try. And I just settled on bald is beautiful. Matt and my husband are onto something. And it's certainly more convenient. We have a choice about how we deal with what happens in our lives. And I would just ask you to always choose kindness and humor. Do you know what happens mechanically when you laugh or smile? The muscles in your cheeks press on a nerve that is directly linked to your brain. So when you do this for more than 30 seconds, your body starts to produce hormones that make you feel good. And smiling is contagious, which means you have the ability to make other people happy. I mean, how cool is that? Thinking positively, being optimistic, these are things that help you get through hard times and help other people get through hard times, and the world doesn't seem like such a dark place. But what I'm going to focus on more today is about being grateful and gratitude. When I decided to shave, I started a second round of chemotherapy and decided to shave my head the second time, but I just did it in the evening. And the next morning, I told my son as he was coming down the stairs, I said, hey, don't be shocked. I shaved my head last night, so I just don't want you to be surprised whenever you come into the kitchen. And he was like, that's okay, Mom. I think you look like Furiosa from Mad Max. And I thought, thanks, son. How cool is that? I can live with that. I could not get through any of this without my family, my husband, who is my rock, my kids. My mother-in-law came to stay while I was in the hospital, while Torsten was in the hospital. My sister flew in from the United States and got me through the first weeks out of the hospital, my first round of chemotherapy. There was an outpouring of love and support from the online community, from our family and friends, our neighbors, everyone. Torsten's work colleagues arranged a car with a driver for us for 2 months, which meant that I got driven to my chemotherapy appointment, my very first one. I never had to take a taxi. It meant that I got to visit Torsten in the hospital, which is something that would not have been possible after my surgery because I couldn't take public transportation. We were so fortunate. I was fortunate to live in a country with great health care, to have access to advanced medical procedures. I'm grateful for all the doctors and nurses and everyone who helped me get through this and saved my life, in essence, for the doctors for sure. I'm thankful to my friend Ann Medlock, who posted a comment an article on Facebook about aging and dying. And I said, what bothers me the most is not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing if I'm going to be able to see my kids grow up. And she said, but you're there with them now, and they have you now. And I have learned to appreciate every single moment. I'm here with all of you amazing people. I'm here to see my friends from the Hero Round Table again. And all of these moments are absolutely precious. Another pancreatic cancer survivor said that not many people get the opportunity to know truly how much people care, admire, and love us while we are alive. And yet it's a gift that I receive daily. And I can only confirm exactly that. And this leads me back to then what we can give back. I know that we will never be able to repay everything that we've been given. But I don't like to think of giving as something that we have to pay back. I don't think giving has to be a quid pro quo, now that we all know what that is. I'd like to tell you something, or tell you a little story I like to call the cinnamon circle. When I was living in Hamburg, I had a neighbor who came by and wanted to borrow some cinnamon. And I had 2 packages for some reason. And I gave her one of them. And I said, here, you can just have this one. And she said, oh, well, let me pay you back. Or maybe I can pick one up for you when I'm shopping. And I said, no, don't worry about it. Just take it. So later that day, my boys were little. We went to the beach. In Hamburg, yes, there's a river and there's a beach along there. So I went to the beach. And I'd forgotten the sunscreen, and so my boys were little. It was a very hot day, and there was another woman there with her kids, and I said, hey, can I borrow some sunscreen? And she said, well, of course. So I smeared my kids up. We had a fantastic day at the beach, and a little while after, in the evening, I got home, and I met my late neighbor on the parking lot, and I said, the cinnamon circle has been closed. She said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, you got cinnamon, and I got sunscreen. That's how the universe works. Giving is just a circle, and you can just keep paying it forward. You can also just help who you can, when you can, where you can, however you can. And I would like you to just take that one step further. Volunteer in your communities. Educators, take your students, map your communities, find out where there are local problems that you can solve. Take first aid and self-defense classes. You never know when you're going to need those skills. Buy fair and sustainable products. This is an easy way to support projects and things and people who are out there doing good things in the world. Pressure government and companies to be fair and sustainable too. Fight for things that matter to you. Everything that we take for granted, like clean water and clean air and the right to vote for women, civil rights, all of these things were fought hard and fought for by brave people who sometimes risked everything to make this world a better place. Now, I've got a little time for a short little story I'm going to add to this. Just that there are ageless quotes of people, older people, I'm talking directly now to young people, who say, oh, the children of today, they have no respect, they don't care for their elders, they're lazy, they're this, they're that. That is not what I see. I see kids out here who are doing amazing things, and you all have the capability to do that. And to add one more story to that, so welcome to America. My son was sitting in class, they were having a lockdown drill, so I was like, oh yeah, guns, right? So they were having this lockdown drill, the door was barricaded, they were all sitting in the corner with their backpacks up, and the teacher said, oh, you can get on your phone. So all the kids were on their phones, and my son, who's 17, was just sitting there, and the teacher said, why don't you have your phone out? And he said, if these really were my last minutes, I would not want to spend them looking at some dumb crap on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. And he's taught me something. I thought, yeah, use your time wisely, use the moments, use the time you have to do what you can. Now I'm just trying to build on the heroic legacy left behind by my family. I am no hero. I'm just dealing with what life has thrown at me. But I can help people, and I can fight for things that matter to me. Thank you so much for being here today.